Today I have United States Senator Marsha Blackburn, who we caught her on her leg as she does 95 counties a year, and she agreed to come and do the discussion. And I'm so interested in talking with her. I didn't know till just a few days ago that you have actually a cooking show.
Yes, we have done some cooking videos, and periodically we do this. It's not an every week or every month sort of thing, but I love to cook. It is something I learned from my mom and my grandmom, and it's a way to kind of bring your family together. Every Sunday I cook Sunday lunch. My kids love it. They live near us, and they're kids and grandkids, and I think they really love the fact that they get to take the leftovers home.
Again, well-worn recipe. This one is from my mother. This was her chocolate pie recipe. It is so easy. I've got a couple of friends in the restaurant industry. They do this same fudge pie recipe, and it is good and easy. 3 cups of sugar, 7 tablespoons of cocoa powder, 4 eggs, a teaspoon of vanilla, a large can of evaporated milk, 1 half cup of melted butter, and then you can add in coconut or nuts or whatever else you want to put in it. But it is like a 1 bowl pie, which is so simple, and serving it hot and serving it with whipped cream is delightful. Okay, I pinch the edges of my pie crust because my mother always pinched the edges of her pie crust. I really like it when it's just a little bit irregular and doesn't look like stamped out pie crust. Okay, let's start out with our eggs and get them beat. Time to add that 3 cups of sugar. Seven tablespoons of cocoa. Let's give it a little shot of vanilla flavor. This recipe calls for 1 large can of evaporated milk. Now, the reason you do this is because you do not want a 2% milk or a whole milk or even a half and half in this, because it would make it too runny and watery. And you want a fudgy product. So we're going to make 1 that has nuts and coconut in it, and 1 that is plain. This is probably one of our favorite Christmas Day desserts. And the good thing about it is when you've got people in the house during Christmas, it is easy to make. Let them cool completely before you cut into them. If you don't, they're going to run all over the plate. But once they are finished, then you top them off with a little bit of whipped cream. I like to do mine from scratch. Put the heavy whipping cream in the bowl, little tiny touch of sugar, whip it up, and then a good size dollop on top.
What do you cook?
Let's see. Oh, well, it just depends. You
Give
know.
me an example.
Okay. A meal that my grandsons love is when I will do meatloaf and mashed potatoes and
Gravy?
green beans, no gravy.
No gravy?
No gravy, but I do a tomato sauce, a diced tomato sauce for the meatloaf. And so they love that. That's one of their favorites. And they also love to help me decorate birthday cakes or cupcakes. And that's a fun time. I make a mean marinara because I make it, I freeze my tomatoes during the summer. You know, I go to the farmer's market and buy a big box of tomatoes and then make my own marinara, so then it's fresh. And they love it when I'll do a pasta bar, and you can have a meat sauce, you can have a marinara, or you can have a blush sauce, which I do kind of as an Alfredo and do it as a primavera, put some vegetables, some onions and peppers and things like that in it. And they enjoy that. I also, there is a dish I make, chicken béarnaise. They love that. And they love a chicken and rice that I do. And I use my grandmother's cooker, stainless steel cooker, to do a roast, and with rice and gravy, and you know, the family loves that. So they kind of have their favorites.
Is this every Sunday?
Every Sunday. Every Sunday you're going to find me in the kitchen cooking.
And then now, where did you start your love for cooking? Because some people don't like to cook.
Yeah, I love it. And my mom and grandmother and all of my aunts and uncles. I grew up in South Mississippi on a farm, and we had a lot of relatives that lived near. And food and gathering around the table was something we always did, and I always loved those conversations. So when Chuck and I married, I picked up the habit and started doing Sunday lunch. And then as the family grew, we would have the kids, and they would have friends that wanted to come, and or someone would be in town. And
did you ever watch Petticoat Junction?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Remember when they would, the main ladies, when they would come in, when Uncle Joe would come in and argue, and she'd say, "Stop, let's eat first, and then we can talk."
Yeah. We kind of talk while we're eating, and it's so much fun now to watch the grandkids come in. We have a rule. You cannot have a device on the table. So no phones, no iPads, none of that. It has to be face-to-face, person-to-person, good conversation, building those relationships, and that's how we spend our Sundays.
Now, were you into 4-H before you were into cooking, or were you into cooking before you were into 4-H?
Well, I probably was into cooking before 4-H, but 4-H was a big part of our lives. My mom won the 4-H Leadership Award, and I think it was 1944. And
was that like regional or what?
No, national.
National.
National. She won the President's Award.
The national what?
President's Award, and at 4-H Club Congress. And here she was, a gal from a farm in South Mississippi, going to Chicago and she was presented with this chest of silver.
What was her background?
She grew up there on a farm, and she was involved in 4-H Club. And so we were always involved in 4-H and 4-H projects, and I did the citizenship and the leadership projects. And
I did the muffins.
Did you do muffins?
When you had to
Yeah,
make the
when you
muffins.
went them to,
Yeah.
you took them to the fair?
No, I just took them to school the next day.
Oh, took them to school, yeah, you know, all those projects and
Yeah.
taking the things to the county
Yeah.
fair, and you would get your ribbons and your prize money. It was
Do you
fun.
still remember the 4-H's?
Yes.
Hands,
Head,
heart, health, and
hand.
No.
Head, heart.
hands,
I
and health.
pledge my health to better living, my heart to better service.
My hands to giving, maybe.
I don't remember.
But
Yeah.
it's the 4. I think
Four,
it's.
yeah.
I think it's head, heart, hands,
And health.
Yeah.
That's right.
Let me tell you about Capstar Bank. They're located in Nashville, Hendersonville, Gallatin, Athens, Madisonville, Sweetwater, Etowah, and in Cleveland at 950 25th Street and 3855 North Ocoee Street. I've used them. I like them. Give them a try. They're no problem.
Yeah.
Is it funny, you thinking back, the stuff that we do when we were younger, like 4-H was such a big deal. In fact, matter of fact, a friend of mine's son, Jackson Hall, is from East Tennessee, and he won the East Tennessee Regional Essay Contest, and he's going to, I guess it's Nashville next week. It's a really big deal.
Yeah, it is. And one of the things I appreciated so much about 4-H, and especially as I look back at it, it was a way to open doors of opportunity that I otherwise would not have had. And to be able to just expand your world view, and to be able to work on a project and say, hey, I'm good at that. I can do that. And to be able to experience that achievement.
And a little competition, that's good, right? A little competition.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, when you are giving a speech in 4-H and doing the speech competition or the demonstration contest, or you're working on the vegetable judging team, and you figure out a way to compete among yourselves and then a way to excel, and then that is recognized and that success is celebrated. That is so good for kids, and they need that. And we all need that.
That's why they have Little League Ball.
Of course.
That's why
Sure.
they have all of these
sports,
competition.
wrestling.
Do you think competition
Yeah.
is the same thing as capitalism in a sense?
Well, competition is going to lead you that direction. We like to see competition in the marketplace. We like to see the practice of capitalism, where people take their money and they invest it in an idea or a concept they have. They work it through to commercialization, and they take it to the market. That's how businesses grow. They all start with an idea.
And capitalism is, in a sense, a certain level of competition, right?
Of course. You're competing in that marketplace. And we want U.S. businesses to be the best in class. We want Tennessee businesses to be the best in class. For them to be, we want our state to have the best environment for business growth to take place. You know, so many times people forget it is not government that creates jobs. It's government creates the environment for jobs growth to take place.
Did you, being in 4-H, was that a real, like, were you out of it by the time you got your scholarship? Was that like?
I was with 4-H until I finished high school.
And then that's sort of where 4-H ends, right, for most people? I mean,
Right, yeah. And then you're off to college. And of course, my 4-H scholarships were what paid for that first year of college. And then I realized I needed to figure something else out. So I sold books, educational books, door to door, 80 hours a week during the summers.
About what era
And
was that?
then it was with the Southwestern Company that's
Oh,
located
Nashville?
in Nashville. Yeah.
Now, didn't Were you the first woman that was?
I was one of their very first women, absolutely, and so enjoyed it, and still have so many good friends that were that I met through Southwestern. Some of them are still with the company, and
Is that right? After
Yeah.
all these years, what year were you? What era were you
I
about?
started selling in '71, and then became a sales manager in '73, and
So 71 to 73, you were knocking on the doors. What was your line?
I had educational books. I
What
had
would you
a
say to 'em?
cookbook. I would ask them to open the door and
Knock on the door?
You knock on the
Who
door,
is it?
and I would say, I'm Marsha Wedgeworth, and want to talk with you. I got some books here. I'd like to show you these books. Yeah.
You miss those days.
I don't miss them. I'm glad I had them because I learned from them. And I think that there again, you learn so much selling door to door. You learn how to talk to people, how to have that conversation, how to build an organization as you open doors of opportunity for other people. And I really am appreciative that that's an experience that I had.
Do you think that all these things you've done, 4-H, selling books door to door, do you think all of these things together is what made you so successful in your career now?
They all weigh in. I'm a co-chair for the Senate Prayer Breakfast this year. And this year, we have focused on people's faith journey and how if you are constantly walking, if you're seeking God's will and walking in that will, you have these experiences and you don't know how they're going to play in your life, or something seems like, well, why am I doing this? Is this a waste of my time? But in that fullness, you end up figuring out what it means to you. And just as all those hours on 4-H club projects, that made a difference for me. And it prepared me.
They weren't easy projects.
No, they were not. It prepares you how to keep records, how to do a project book. Learned a lot about cooking. Learned about on the judging team, horticulture judging
giving
team,
speeches,
standing up, giving a speech. You learn so much. It's a good way to learn a lot of life skills. And then selling books door to door. It is a way to figure out how to build an organization, what the principles are in working for yourself, because you're on straight commission when you're doing that job. And then how to encourage and mentor others so that they learn how to do that job. So that's a great learning skill.
When you sold these books, were you doing cold calls, or did they give you a list
cold calls.
So you were almost always looking.
You go out and you get your own pre-approach.
That is like
Yeah.
That's like impossible, isn't it? I mean, it's just hard to do.
No, it's not
that.
impossible.
Well, but during
you
that,
have to be focused.
But during that era, it was easier to sell books. I mean, it wasn't easier, but it was more common for somebody to knock on the door and sell
That's
books
right.
or a vacuum
That's right.
cleaner or whatever.
Right.
Now they'd think it wouldn't work. But you almost had to, almost like sneaking up on a rabbit. You sort of had to knock on the door gently and have a nice demeanor and approach, right?
Right. And being in my political life, I'm still knocking on doors and asking for the vote.
There's not much different, is there?
No, there isn't.
Let me ask you this. When you go to, do you travel back to Nashville every weekend?
Yes, I fly somewhere in the state on Thursday afternoons and then work my way back toward Williamson County on Fridays. And then sometimes we have things to attend there in the Nashville area, Middle Tennessee area on the weekends. But Sundays are our family time, and we try to hold that separate.
You watch a movie of the evening, or you just eat lunch, or you go to church there?
We do. We go to church. Chuck and I go to early church. We can do early church and Sunday school, and the kids do Sunday school and late church.
What time is the early service?
8:30.
8:30. That's early, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then so you go to Sunday school too?
Yes, and then by the time the kids get to the house, I've got lunch ready.
Well, it's perfect, isn't it? What
Yeah.
time do they usually get there? About
They get
12
there
or-
12:15, yeah.
How many's there?
It depends, you know, it can be 8, it can be 14, 15.
See, I do the same thing at my mother's. There may be 5, and there may be 20.
Yep, you never know.
On the courthouse square at 30 2nd Street is the law firm of Logan Thompson Law. Since 1965, they have served the legal needs for the good citizens of Cleveland Bradley County. If you've got a problem, they're no problem. Give them a call.
Now, I watched yesterday a clip of you talking with Janet Yellen about the Silicon Valley Bank issue, and I have a clip. I'd just like to play that for a minute.
Secretary, thank you for being with us today. I want to return to the SVB issue and ask you, I haven't heard you say today, when were you first notified that there were problems with SVB, and when did you alert members of Congress? What was that time lag?
I believe that I first found out about the troubles at Silicon Valley Bank. I guess it was last Thursday.
Last Thursday. And then your notification of Congress came when?
The bank was put
Why
in.
don't you just put that in writing for me so I don't waste my time? I know Senator Langford asked you about the Deposit Insurance Fund and how that would affect our local banks. And there's a lot of concern over this. And I know you were uncertain about that. If you would run the numbers on that and let us know a ballpark of what you think this would cost if you end up insuring everybody's deposit. And then I have to ask you, being from Tennessee, you know, we have a long and storied history of opposing nationalizing the banking system. Do you see this as a step to nationalize the banking system?
Absolutely not. I see
Okay.
this as a step toward stemming contagion that could come
Okay.
from the failure of these banks that would place community banks
Okay.
across the country at
Thank
great
you.
risk of runs as
All
well
right.
that we want to.
Thank you, ma'am. Let me move to the Inflation Reduction Act and that implementation. I hear a lot about this from local mayors and our state agencies. There is a lot of money that can be doled out. Treasury and other agencies are going to be required to issue guidance. That hasn't come, and so there's a lot of confusion there. And I was looking at the structure, and I want to make certain that I'm viewing this right. You have the Deputy Secretary, the Office of IRA Implementation within Treasury, the Office of IRA Implementation in the IRS, and Danny Werfel, who is the new, recently confirmed IRS Commissioner. So with all of these bodies involved, who is actually in charge? Who's the final decision maker on the guidance and the timeline for releasing that guidance?
Well, our Office of Tax Policy drafts regulations,
so they're
and we
doing
go
it?
through a regular
Then do you
rulemaking.
sign off on it? Are you the
I
final
do.
say?
I
So
do
you
sign
are the
off
one
on it.
that's
We
the final
confer
say.
with many,
Okay.
many people in the
Then-
process of drafting that, and it will go through full comment and review
All
before
right.
final.
Let me ask you something else, because the buck stops with you. You have really praised the IRA. I want to ask you one more thing about that, because your statements contradict themselves somewhat. You talk about the IRA as a way to really bring prosperity, to lower inflation, to lower the debt. So do you really believe that we can spend our way to lower inflation, to debt reduction, and to economic prosperity with
Well,
the
I
amount of debt?
I believe that this law promotes clean energy and R&D and investment in the United States.
That's not my question.
that
Do
will-
you believe we can spend our way to lower inflation? And I'm going to move on, obviously.
I've never said
we
any
don't there.
such.
Oh, well, okay.
I've never said that I think that
All
that's
right.
a
Thank
way
you,
to
ma'am.
lower inflation.
You have mentioned the IRS being able to answer more phone calls and respond more quickly because of the IRA funding. And I was looking at the IRS data, and it shows that the IRS actually answered 2.6 million fewer calls this March during the tax filing season. So, and I know Senator Thune asked you about this. If we could get some clarity from you and from your testimony about this, and what is the rate? How often are these calls answered and missed? What percentage of people at the IRS are still working remotely, and what is your timeline for bringing them all back?
What I can tell you is that the response rate to customer calls has been between 80 and 90% every week during this tax filing season, and that's a massive improvement. The IRS hired 5,000 new people to put into customer service, and that relied on funds from the IRA.
My time has expired, but the Eight Corners data call that the IRS gave in early March, the IRS says they've actually answered 2.6 million fewer calls this tax filing season.
There may have been fewer calls, but the rate of response was very much higher,
Thank you.
hugely
Thank you,
higher.
Madam Secretary.
Hey, I really appreciate you coming. I know this is out of your schedule. I know you go to see 95 counties in a
Every year,
And for you
yes.
to stop here, it means more to me than you'll ever know.
I am delighted to join you. Thank you so much.